Video tonight of the raging river nearby, picking up a home right there, slamming it into a pile of debris.
Hey everyone, this is Martin.
And I'm Shelley.
And a couple of weeks ago, we did two videos, I guess. They were either a week or 2 weeks apart on just practical preparation. And, some, you might call it prepping, but we actually had released one just prior to the hurricane coming in to the North Carolina area. Well, Hurricane Helen. And, it was just kind of a general what to prep for or what to be prepared for. And the idea was that that you prepare for the things that are most obviously going to affect you. Around here in southwest Missouri, the things that affect us are ice storms taking out the electricity and tornadoes, which every year we get a number of those around the area. And so that's kind of the practical prepping things that we do, or those are the natural disaster type of preps that we do, just because those are the things that are most common to us. And I was talking about that, down if you're in the path of hurricanes, then you kind of have to prep for that, which North Carolina and those other states right in there, they're not really hurricane prone, even though they get the tail ends of them coming across. But nobody, I don't think, had any idea what to expect from Helene, because that was such a massively devastating hurricane out there that I got to thinking afterwards, it's like, how do you even prepare for something like that? It's not normal. I mean, you're already inland a long ways, and of course we get the tail ends and remnants of hurricanes that come across here, but it's a little bit of wind and quite a bit of rain, and then it's over with. And so, yeah, a little bit of flooding we have to deal with, not right here on this property necessarily, but the area does. And but out there, as I watched it on the television, it's like, okay, so if you are prepared for flooding, which that would be sort of the byproduct disaster of the remnants of a hurricane, and you were ready for that, but then you wake up in the morning and your house is floating down the river, and your barn is floating down the river, and your chicken coop is floating down the river, and your cars are already gone, and all. I mean, how do you prepare for that when just the flood takes everything? And honestly, I don't know. I had to stop and start rethinking, what we think of when we start planning some common sense preparation. And I mean, she's bugged me forever for the storm shelter thing.
Yeah.
For the tornadoes.
Yeah, because I seen what it did. My dad had a tornado hit his hometown in 2008. Yeah. And I tell you what, that was, wow.
That was total devastation.
Yeah. It was an F5.
He was, his house was like 3 or 4 houses outside of the actual footprint of the tornado, and it crushed probably more than half of his house. Yeah. And he wanted to rebuild it, so we rebuilt it. But how do you deal with complete total devastation, or how do you prepare for that? Bug out bags is one of the things that I've always kind of laughed at. It's like, I'm not, and I can understand that if you're kind of in an urban setting and you feel like your only option is to get out, grab a bag and go. And I kind of get that there, but in a rural setting like we're at, it's like, no, we're going to make our stand right here. And so there's no point in leaving anywhere. But really, and they were, the Helene victims were in a rural setting too, and they're probably thinking, we're going to make our stand right here. But then when all of a sudden you feel your house in the middle of the night moving off the foundation when you wake up, and the floodwaters are carrying it away, you might have to have kind of a bug out survival bag to grab and run, because there's people that were trapped inside their houses.
Oh yeah. And
floating down the river with their house. So I don't even really have an answer for that. I don't know. When you talk about a 1,000-year event, almost, that's kind of what they were calling it. How do you prepare for the most extreme version of what you might face? And I really don't have an answer for that. I know I've been rethinking all of that down here, because we have vulnerabilities here, and I suppose probably one of the biggest vulnerabilities is, short of a tornado just skimming everything off to the ground, would be, our solar rack down here, our panels. They're susceptible to wind damage and I guess hail damage and things like that too. And we do have backups to that, but still, I've even thought, we're good with power, but then, well, what happens if the panels get all damaged? Then, I mean, there's no power source from that anyway. We'd have to fall back to like the generators and things like that. And then what happens if you can't get fuel for a while?
Get more.
Yeah,
You just have to get more.
This video is not about an answer. This video is about just raising a new level of awareness, I guess, to us about what is practical preparation for really natural disasters. I mean, there's other things that preppers prep for, but I'm just thinking of natural disasters because those are the things that we most often encounter in our lives, and so we've sort of prepared for the very common ones, but what about the extraordinary ones, like Hurricane Helene and what it did to North Carolina and the
Tennessee,
Kentucky, Tennessee, and Georgia, and all of those that's down in that area, and it's time to probably start rethinking for yourselves, what does it mean in the context of self-reliance or self-sufficiency? What does it mean to be prepared for almost kind of the worst that can happen? We can prepare for the bad stuff that happens, but what about the worst case scenarios that we haven't even thought about? And I don't know, it's I challenge you to start thinking about those kind of things. As I research and begin to learn this a little bit and start taking steps that will help us be more prepared for those kind of things, we'll share them on videos. And but I mean,
my heart just goes out to these people.
Yeah.
I mean, devastation is just really hard, and the thing is that we've been praying for you and hoping that you get through it and rebuild and just go forth, go ahead, keep moving forward.
And one of the things that we noticed during her dad's tornado was we went up there. We spent the entire summer up there. It happened on Memorial Day weekend. I remember it was Sunday when he called and said that his house was destroyed. And we went up there 3 days later. And I mean, she grew up in that house, in that town, in that neighborhood, and she could not pick out which street it was that we were supposed to turn and go down because everything was just totally gone. And it was hard to tell, where in the world do we turn or which street is mine? And because everything that you would recognize was gone. And we turned around a couple of days later and came back home to Missouri, this was up in northeast Iowa. And we came back, loaded our trucks and trailers, recruited some help to go up there, bought a couple of extra campers to set up in the yard so that we could spend the summer up there. And we spent the summer up there, the entire summer, rebuilding his house and cleaning up the mess and all of that. And, one of the things that really stood out to me, I think it did to you and everybody else that was involved with that, was the outpouring of help and assistance that came into the town. And it was like, we joked about it, it was like looking at a Where's Waldo cartoon where it's just like people everywhere. And they were all helping. And I see that happening out there with the Helene disaster. And so that's, I guess, one bright spot is you see just how much people care when that happens. And we were able to really spend 3 to 4 months up there. Fortunately, we were in a position where we could spend the time up there and do that. And it was, it was a terrible experience, but at the same time, it was sort of a wonderful experience to see all of the people and how they pulled together and really turned that town back around and it got recovered. And I know that that's going to happen out there with the Helene thing, but anyway, you really do need to kind of think about, okay, what are we going to do to be prepared for something of that magnitude? So anyway, just food for thought, and we're going to let you go and kind of get back to what you're doing. We're going to go get back to what we're doing, and hope you have a great day. And if you like the content, please hit the notification bell and the subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like and a share, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and the notification bell. See you next time.